Well, you guys. Hello, everyone. So today is quite the celebration for us. And I got to tell you, I am just giddy as all get out. This is just not any, we're not just talking about any book or any release. We're talking about the 150th book released by Brenda Jackson. And also this year marks her 30th year anniversary
Yeah.
in writing. Okay. So, Miss Brenda,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you so much for joining me. And I know you've been doing quite the road show. So I am so happy that you stopped by my little old book bar and
I
talked to
am
me.
I am honored that you invited me to stop by the book
Yes.
park.
So for those 1.5 people who do not know Miss Brenda Jackson, all I'm going to say is this is a New York Times best-selling author multiple times over and a USA best-selling author multiple times over. Brenda Jackson, the one who makes romance all the while worth reading. So say hello, Miss Brenda.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish you could see my wall over here. Each time I made the New York Times, my agent would have a plaque made with the picture of that book with the title engraved up under it and the year. And I have a wall, a New York Times wall. And every time, I think I'm up to 12 books that made New York Times.
Oh,
So
wow.
time I pass by that wall, I am just so grateful to my readers because it took them to go out and buy the book, to enjoy the writing, to tell others. Because, the New York Times usually is that first week of sale. It could be the
Okay.
second or third week, but it's a very big push. So I just appreciate all my readers who read the book, who enjoyed the book. And I don't push for a list. A lot of people say, I got to make the list. I done made it. Done, I mean, once you've earned it, but that means that I write for my readers and not for a list. I
Mhm.
feel like as long as they write me and say I really enjoyed the book, I
Mhm.
feel good.
Okay. So, Miss Brenda, though, but
Yeah.
30 years of writing, most people spend 30 years in some kind of career, corporate America or whatever, what have you. And then when that 30-year mark come, they say, hey, I got the time. I'm out. I'm retiring. Right. But you have done, I want to say you've been in corporate America and you spent quite
Right.
a bit of time in corporate America as well.
37
So
years.
how
30,
much? 30
37,
years?
37.
Oh, wow. 37 years of corporate America and 30 years of writing.
Yeah. They cross over um 37 years in corporate America. By the time I retired, I had already written 50 books. In fact, that year I celebrated my 50th book in
Mhm.
2008. I had made the New York Times. I had made the USA Today. I was the first one to make both lists.
Mhm.
And on top of that, BET had made a movie of one of my books. So I had pretty much done everything while still working at corporate America. So then I'm like, okay, now what can I do after that? Because I've done all these things. And my husband say, just keep doing what you're doing. And I had made New York Times USA once, and all those others came when he said, keep doing what you're doing. And that's what I did. Kept doing what I was doing. So,
Yes, wow. Okay, so guys, I just want to take a few minutes just to say hello to everybody. I'm going to put your name up there on there. That's my way of saying hello because I know we don't have a whole lot of time out here, so I want to try to get the goods for y'all. We're going to be spilling a little bit of tea, but not the tea that you think you might have come here for. We're going to wait till later to do that. So guys, again, thank you so much for coming out. And as I play your name up there, again, this is us saying hello and welcome. So Miss Brenda,
Yes.
obviously, you retired from corporate America, but this writing style, you've hit this 30-year mark on here, and it doesn't look like there's any signs of retiring there. So okay, so you have confirmed that for us. So you're gonna still be going after 150 books.
Yeah, writing is my joy. It's
Mm-hmm.
my joy. I mean, it's not only just writing, but the types of books I write. I love romance. I can't help but love romance. So when a good another story come in my head, I write. I write every day. Even on Sunday after church, I can't wait to get home and write something. Because I even if it's just for an hour, I feel lost without writing. So that's what I do. I love doing it. I'm not a plotter. I do not plot my stories. I'm a pantster. I write by the seat of my pants. I have an idea, and it's only when I sit to the computer that then I know what I'm going to write about and where the book will lead me.
Oh wow! So you know all of this when you sit down to write a book.
I know that I'm going to follow the direction that's in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as in your head, I know that you're pretty good. You do a pretty good job of remembering. I know that we've had to call on you several times because we've got so knee deep in the series that we've lost our way. But you quickly, open up the gate for a sheet and you lead us back in with answering our questions and stuff. And I mean, you do that on the fly. So how is that even possible? 150 books, and I bet you if we come, if a reader asks you something about a family connection, you right there, with the question. I mean, with the answer to the question.
Right. Because what you said is the key word, a family connection. Each
Okay.
one of my series, I consider it as a family. I know the Madeiras. They were my first family. The
Hmm.
Madeiras. Then I went to the Westmoreland. I know those guys. I
Okay.
know the Steels. So whenever I'm talking about those families, it's like I'm a part of that family. So I know what each one of them will do and what they won't do. And that makes it easier for me when I write the sequel. Writing
Okay.
Spilling the Tea was easy. What was hard was not bringing in other characters that I wanted to talk about. So what I did, I wanted to bring in Dex. I wanted to mention Dex, at least Dex. I wanted to mention Luke. You know,
Oh,
when Luke told, well, you act
yeah.
like Dex sometime. Yeah, I wanted that because then that give people a reference because everybody know how Dex act most of the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wanted to show Marilyn and Jonathan. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
a lot. Jonathan, we know he didn't just fall in love. Marilyn was his heart when he met Marilyn. If you ever read the book on their relationship, but now he was smitten with a girl when he was in his teens. So you find out little nuggets about all these people that you have grown up to love. Mama Laverne. Sometimes it's hard to think of her as a young girl because she's in her 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just think, she is at a time she was a teenager that
Hmm.
was going to these church camps. And that's when she met Yvonne. And I mentioned Yvonne deliberately and the young lady in there because if you read Follow Your Heart, that's why she put Yvonne's granddaughter with, the guy that was in there. So, I kind of like give you history.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was truly, and again, we're not gonna get into the book because I really just think that everybody owe it to themselves to read this book, by yourself and or with your book buddies because it is a part of history. And, you get a chance to see the backstory of Mama Laverne because, when we met her, she was already a full blown adult, but I will tell you all this. She was just as feisty back there as she is today when you read about her. And she wasn't taking no mess then and she don't take it now. But yeah, so I did enjoy going back to, because Westmoreland's was my first love with your families as well. And Uncle Jake, anytime somebody say Jake, I'm just like swooning, or whatever. But I did enjoy going back. And Mama Laverne is spot on. However, when you guys do finish reading this book, I kind of want to go back and talk about this connection here. I don't know if this is one Mama Laverne can put on her, put a pin in this one here. So we're going to talk about that later at some point. But now, Spilling the Tea, this your 150th book. What preparations or what inspired you to do a Medeiros book as opposed to something new, to start you off with something new? What inspired the Spilling the Tea?
I said that the Medeiros was number one.
Mm-hmm.
That was my very first book. It was also my 50th book. It
Oh,
was
wow.
also my 100th book. I decided long ago that whenever I have a milestone book, I'm going to take it to my very first family. It will always be a Medeiros. So if I live to do 175th book, it'll be a Medeiros book. And even if I have to do what I did this time, have to freeze everything else to make sure that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I had to do was, and my publisher said, you're under contract. You can't hold these books up just to let the Medeiros book be 150th book. So what I had to do, all my independent books that I do on my own, that I wanted to write one from the Defenders, introduce the Defenders. I want to write Masters of the Game. They had to be held back, because then my 150th book will have been my 153rd book.
Oh, gotcha.
Would not have, any books that I released didn't add to the count. They were books I had already written because they were in an anthology, and I just gave them their own space so that readers could get something from me while they're waiting on the 150th book or other books. So that was important to me, because my readers will call and say, Miss Jackson, what's going on? Why you haven't released the book? So you'll be surprised how many books I've done in anthologies that readers did not read because they got lost in the shuffle. So now I'm reissuing them with their own book, their own book. It's an ebook, but I didn't have to count it because it's already in the count. So
Okay. So you were very strategic in doing that.
I was very strategic. I was very strategic in making sure that my 150th book would be a Medeiros book.
Okay. So now when you go to, like 150, 175 or even 200 books, because you do knock them out pretty quick. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah, so those will all be Medeiros books. You'll all take those milestone years back to the very first.
Right. And I don't know how it's going to work, who I'll be writing about, but I still have a lot of Medeiros men left. So
okay.
A lot of great grands.
Come on with them.
Yeah.
Come on with them. I just wanted to stop right here just to take a few moments. We do have a few authors out in that I'm aware of out in the audience. We have, I hope I'm saying this right, Shaniqua Hobbs. And welcome. And thank you for your voice and your craft of sharing it with us. And we also have Iris Boland out there. Iris Boland, welcome. And thank you for your contribution to the literary.
Iris saying she's waiting for book number 200.
Yeah, she's waiting for your 200th book.
Well, I hope when it comes, I would have finished all the, hopefully by then, I would have finished all. Because one of the things I let drag on when I add, because I was under contract. So
Hmm.
my goal now is moving ahead to self-publish the rest of my Madeiras book so I can move them quicker. So I'm hoping that I'm not saying you're going to get a Madeiras book once a year, but I'll see. But because I got
Oh,
the banisters now, before I can even get the Corbin, I got 4 banisters to get. So
oh, well, you listen, you're gonna be busy.
yes,
Uh, just another you got some sisters of the pen out here. Hey there, Miss Sharon C. Cooper.
super. Hey,
Uh,
my girl, thank you again for the flowers.
yeah, and here we look. You must be something special. We done got Eva J. Brock
Well,
out
let
here.
me
Hey,
tell you,
Auntie, how
me and
are
you
you?
forgot to tell you of our family connection from
Yeah.
the whole farm. Yes, some of my cousins from Gary is very close with Eva family, so Eva and I have a very special connection.
Okay, okay. And we like that, it's that 6 degrees of separation. Six
Yeah.
degrees of separation. You never know. So now, okay, so Miss Brenda,
Yes.
so you've written the Medeiros book was your first book, and you
Yes.
got Spilling the Tea is the 150th book. Now,
Yes.
in between there, what would you say was there any difference in your writing style from the very first to the 150? And what type of challenges did you face writing that first book and now this 150th book?
The main challenge I faced in writing the first book is getting it published because
Hmm.
no one was ready for Black love or Black romance. So, getting that book published was the number one thing. Now, you don't have to wait for a traditional publisher, do it yourself. So,
Hmm.
that was a challenge with the first book that's not there with my 150th book. Um, Another challenge I think that I face with, just in between years is growing as an author
Yeah.
because my readers expect me to grow. And so there could be a difference in the type of men I write about within the families. Like, the Medeiros men, some of them may have a little of the same characteristic of the Westmorelands, but because I mostly write about men, they're gonna have some sisters, but my main focus is men. So I already told you how the Medeiros men are, because I wrote my first 10 books were all Medeiros men book or Medeiros book. Then when Harlequin said, we want you to start a new series with us, I decided Westmoreland. I had to ask myself, what's going to make them different from the Madeirases? Well, the love scenes got to be a little steamier.
Mm.
Yep. And with the Madeirases at the time, there was only one player, and that was Clayton. Where it seemed like most of the Westmorelands wanted to be players. So I had a challenge there. What's each one of their hang up, why they don't want to become involved in a serious relationship. And let's not even go into the Steels because the Steels
Uh,
of Phoenix was something else. They were all bad news. But you had the others like, Sebastian and Chance, my other Chance, they did not have a problem with settling down. So I think one of the challenges in keeping my men lovable, interesting, and different.
Yeah, yeah. And they did they I mean I guess I've read all of the Medeiros and all of the Westmorelands as well. And you did see some similarities, but they were totally different. It wasn't never when I picked up a book and said I thought I was reading the same series or even the same book for that matter.
Yeah.
And we ask authors this a lot. So with all of the books you have, and just based on what you just said, what would you say your ingredient is to kind of keep those situations and the book, what the book is about. How do you keep that different, and how do you keep it fresh?
Because I think I don't plot anything.
Hmm.
I know my characters, and I look at them just like if I had 10 brothers. There are going to be similarities in their looks and maybe in their attitude because you got the same mom and the same daddy, but each one of them come to me differently. So I know if you come to me and say, I can't remember this guy, but he was so surly, he was so unforgivable, I'm going to say Dex Medeiros, because I know one that's so diplomatic. He's a beta male versus an alpha male, Justin Medeiros. And I have a beta man in each one of my novels. The beta man that's in the Denver Westmoreland was Dylan. He was the oldest. Seemed like the older guys, because they have to care or to feel like they have to look out for the younger ones, they are more settled.
Hmm.
They're not the ones out there trying to beat the younger brother with the women, So,
Yeah.
that's what I have to do. I have to try to make sure that my readers know the difference in all my men.
Yeah, I have to say though, it has been a joy to watch each one of them fall to love because they don't go down easy, but it has been a joy to watch them. But then they are better for it too. And then after they get together and they have succumbed to something that they have no control over, it's yeah, the love story is quite interesting to watch too because they are so different.
And I think that's why I enjoy writing Chance. I love writing men
Uh,
feel like they will never, ever, ever fall in love for whatever reason. And there's someone for everyone. And, you may have to shake them sometime or make them realize that, and they'll give a good argument. But in the end, true love gonna get them.
yeah. So I'm gonna y'all know me. Y'all know I love to discuss books, but I want to go. I love how you made Chance and Zoe. I think that was her name, Zoe.
So, uh-huh.
So I love how you made them different, but really going through the same things because I felt like that was a way. I mean, they were going through some tragic times. It was really a tumultuous journey for them in their own rights. And then to bring them together, I think they were able to understand each other. So I do love how you wrote that in there. And you were able to, and I think what you did with Spilling the Tea as well, is you were able to give us a love story, but then you was also able to give us the history. And they, even though they merged together, and oh my gosh, guys, did they merge together? And although they merged together, they were almost like two separate stories in one. So it's almost like you got a twofer, in there because, Mama Laverne was giving us what she was giving us. And then all the while we was having this love story go on too. So very, very nicely done. Loved it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, everybody knows you for your romance. And even though you've given us some suspense over the years, now that you've hit this 30th mark, where does Miss Brenda go from here?
Wow. I think I want to expand, which I am doing in young adult. Before
Okay.
y'all knew me as Brenda Jackson, the romance, the hot, steamy romance novel. I entertained my classmates when I was in eighth grade with cute, sweet young adult books. Um,
Okay.
and so I felt, okay, I have so many mothers come up to me at book signing with daughters and say, Mommy, can I read her book? And we're like, Some of them, as you know, last week came up to me and said, I was reading your book at 12. I said, where your mama? Okay, who's your mama?
Right, right, right.
Why are you reading my books at 12? So I felt like maybe I need to put stuff out there. Maybe I need to put stuff out there for them. And so I decided to write a young adult book because I enjoy reading when I was young. Nancy Drew type stories, the Who Done It. They were my son's Nancy Drew book, but I would pick one up and say, okay, let me figure this one out. And so
Hmm.
that's why I decided to write young adult books for my young adult readers who parents enjoy the same family. I figure if I could get them to read about the innocence of the next generation of Madeiras at 13, 14, 10, when they get older, they will be ready to find out, oh, let me, Christy and Alex, mama, let me see what their mama was doing back in the day. So I've gotten a whole nother audience. I've grown a whole new audience based on that family.
And I love how you strategically did this too, because if someone were to go and read this, say they come to you, a Brenda Jackson, from reading even Spilling the Tea or this younger book, adult book, whenever it gets released, I can see them wanting to know, so, okay, well, who is this character and what is that character there? So here, here you go again, they started from the bottom, but then they're going to want to know how it all, started. So very good there. I like that.
You'd be surprised how many adults have signed up to get this young adult book. I say, you're getting it. Yeah, I'm going to get it for my daughter, my granddaughter, but I'm getting my copy too, because they see this as the next generation of Madeiras. They know Christy and Alex. They know what they went through in Unfinished Business. Now they're dealing with their daughter. They want to make sure Christy and Alex, how many more kids they've had. Because remember, this book, Alexandria Christina is 15 years old.
Okay.
We knew her when she was in her mom's womb. Okay. So now, how does the family dynamics, how Alex fit in? Because those who know Alex never had a steady girlfriend. He went straight from being a social dater to getting married. When he got married to save Christy.
Yeah.
So now, how is that working out? How is he adjusting to family? We
Mm-hmm.
know they love each other. We know that. But you're talking about 15, 16, 17 years later. So I love bringing them back together. I love talking about the family. Again, introducing the young people to the Madeiras family in a fun way.
Okay. So is this young adult book, is it going to be a series or is it going to be? Okay. All
Yep.
right.
Right now, it's going to be a 6-book series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, Christy, Alexandria Christina, she will age because she's 15, but I did my research. Her birthday was in April.
Mhm.
So the book will take place in the same year. All the books will take place within that last school year for Wolf. He's a senior.
Okay.
So all their cases going to take place while he's a senior, while she is in sophomore, I think, yeah. And Glenn, Nicholas Chenault's son,
Okay.
junior. So all of this take place during this time, and I will have 6 books.
Okay. Okay. Well, we all here for it. So I'm not going to even lie. I'm all ready for the young adult, and I'm going to be buying my book. And unless somebody else want one, I'm going to be buying one for myself because I'm all ready for that. And then I don't know if Shay is still out here, but I just had an epiphany because I can see this being something where you can also caterpillar on having some book discussions with those young adults who want to read the book. And because you know what, we're adults, we always get to see you and talk to you about the romance novels, but how wonderful would it be to go and sit in a room with some, young adults who might want to also discuss the thing. I think, and I'm overjoyed when I can talk to you, so I can't imagine that would be for that. So I hope Shay is out there so she can get that together.
Yeah, and one good thing, not to get the young people confused with what book they can read of mine and what not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm writing under a pen name, and I thought, I had all of these names that I was going to use. And something say, what about me? I write children's stories already, and I was your first heroine. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's right. So I'm going to become Lauren Medeiros. And that's what I am. And so the kids can't say, Mom, I want to read a Brenda Jackson book. No, baby, you cannot read a Brenda Jackson book. You need to read a Lauren Medeiros book. And then when you get it'll click in your mind that, wait a minute, the Medeiros, you know how they do the YouTube, not
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, but Google. This is the same lady. But I'm hoping by the time they figure it out, they will
They'll
have
be
been
old enough. Well, you got to leave that to the mamas because the mamas already know that it's coming out. At least most of them. So let's hope that doesn't start.
That's why I'm not putting my picture anywhere on that book. I'm not, it has its own website. It's going to be a fun website. I'm going to have games on the website. The young people that sign up for the newsletter, they will get a chance to win prizes that kids love. I'm going to have fun with this. I have one part of my website is just for word games that every so often they can print out and do word games based on whatever book there is. You have word games. So yeah. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the young folks.
Look, I'm about to say, can I sign up too?
Anybody, because I'm hoping parents sign up for their kids because we put on there, don't be afraid to share the email address because we don't sell it to third parties and whatever. And when we pick winners, we're going to notify that person at the email address. You're a winner for whatever, whatever we're giving out, whether it's a gift card, whether it's movie tickets, whatever. We will send it. We got to send it somewhere. Unless we do it electronically, we'll send it to the parent's address or somebody's address. So we want the parents to feel safe that they're sharing the information that we're going to send their child a gift. So yeah.
Okay, well, it sounds like you thought of everything, and it sounds like it is going to be very intriguing. So I'm going to definitely stay tuned for that. And I just wanted to take another minute. We have a couple of more sisters of the pen out here. We have Candace Ortisteps Johnson. Hello and welcome. And then we also have Eliza Mann, who is also out there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for joining us. And if you are an author out there and I just have either missed your name or don't know, just kind of, give me a little notification in here and I'll definitely shout you out because I feel like, with this, although we're celebrating.
Debbie says she's been reading Harlequin at age 15.
I think a lot of us have that story, Debbie, but that don't make it right. Let's just say that. I think we all have been doing that.
Good thing about this book, because of, I'm still romantic, there is going to be a lot of people going to continue to read it to see when Christy realizes that there's a purpose for Wolf. And Wolf, of course, is Ashton Sinclair.
Mm-hmm.
That there is a purpose, that he's her protector, and they've been like friends, best friends, and they were toddlers. So there's a reason for that. So yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, and like I said, just from what I know the little bit that you told me about it, it sounds like it's going to be really good. So now we know that there's no retirement, even though we're 30 years, there's no retirement in sight. You already got what your next journey is going to be. Now, besides the young adult, is there anything new, like any other different genres you thinking you might want to play in? So what else is going on with you?
Well, I'm going to expand the Grangers. I did the Grangers 3 books, and then I did Grangers 4 books, because my readers told me I had to do the daddy story, which was Shepherd. So the first Granger series went from 3 books to the 4th book. I had to do the 4th book under my own publishing company. Then we did the Protectors, which was 3 books. After Protectors, we did The Men of Action, which I basically wrote independently. They were self-published. The next thing is The Defenders. I hope my first Defender book will be out in 2026. So
Okay.
I'm looking forward to writing my Defender. So I'm hoping then you got so many other families I want to bring up to date. You know, I'm giving you a Montgomery Christmas, all the player books,
Okay.
Lance Montgomery, and then I'm giving you a Steel Christmas. But those are the ones that I'm going to do. And I want to write a book, still romance, but it's more deep, like more of a ties that bind type
Oh,
story.
okay.
So this book, Spilling the Tea, I go back in history and it's about a couple, but I give you really three love stories. I give you Chance and Zoe,
Mm.
Mama Laverne and Milton, and Victoria, and her guy, Waylon.
Hey,
So yeah, this one I want to start doing more stronger women fiction novels that don't mostly have a happy ending versus a satisfying ending.
okay. Okay. All right. So, like I said, that the spilling the tea is a perfect name for it, but the book is just so much more than just, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then I also want to recognize another sister of the pen. Look at you, bringing them all out tonight.
Oh,
Kimmy Farrell. Hey, Kimmy. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Um, okay. So now you talk a
Debbie
lot.
said she signed up for the young adult book, Unfinished Business. Then, if you love Unfinished Business, you're going to love being in the Maxwell household because they have four kids. Four kids. They have Alexandria Christina, AC, the oldest. They have Christian Julian, which is the Christian Alexander, I'm sorry, which is the first son. Then they have Armirian Julian, who's another son, and they have a 4-year old
Oh,
who was born basically after um, Follow Your Heart. And her name is Carla Marie, and she's going to capture your heart.
oh
And that,
wow. I
yes,
don't even
yeah,
remember Carla.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Lashir, we got a literary agent out here tonight. Hey, welcome, welcome. So I wanted to ask you. You talk a lot about your readers, and how much you appreciate them. And I'm sure it's reciprocated. But now, how much of your readers, I guess, the comments or your conversations with them, how much of that influences your stories, if any?
They don't influence the plot of the story because I have to write what's up here in
Hmm.
my head, but they may influence who I write about at that time
Oh,
because, again, I had no desire to span the Madeiras beyond the first 5 books. That was Justin, Dex, Clay,
really?
Uncle Jake, and Christy. Those were all the books. Hi, Cyrus.
Yes, Cyrus, another powerhouse
Yes,
out there. Thank you for joining us.
yes, and that was all I had planned on doing. But my reader's the one when I wrote a Dex book and I introduced Trevor, Grant, and Corinthians in that hotel room scene. That was just really for a laughable moment.
Oh,
Never thought my had no plans to write their story. But I'm like, really? I mean, honestly, can you imagine a beginning like that? So you think she's in love with a guy who's your best friend? I just couldn't see how that would be. But my reader said, Miss Jackson, you can do it. Anybody could do it, it's you. And that's what I did. And so when I wrote Trevor book, then I introduced Sir Drake and Ashton. Then it was a piece of cake from there on then on. So my readers influence who I might write about, but they don't influence the story because I'm sure, already some people say, oh, I wish this would have happened in the book. But if it wasn't in my head to happen, then I can't do it because I have to tell the story. And remember, the story is not already from start to finish in my head. When I'm writing, things happen that could change it up. So all the dots are connected. It was important to me when y'all read Spilling the Tea, all the dots are connected.
You know, speaking of this, so you've written quite a few series, and because everything is in your head, and I know that most authors say that sometimes it's the characters that drive the story. They're the
Yes,
ones that's talking to you.
right, right.
But has there ever been a situation in your writing, especially with the series, that you have come to a situation where you kind of boxed in and you can't get your way out? Like you got to redevise, something that was already in your head just to make the story work.
So far, no. I mean, I'm sometimes when I'm writing, I'm like, I can't believe this, because I'm so surprised how the story has taken, what the way it's traveling. That no, but so far I'm not boxed in. And one thing Nora Roberts told us when I did a workshop with her, she was teaching a workshop. I've never had writer's block. I've
Okay.
never had writer's block. You know how you see the people throw in the paper, typewriter snatch it up because you can't think. No, I never pushed myself away from my computer because I don't know where the story is going next.
Okay.
Because in my head, I know the characters and they take me where they want me to take them. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm like, because at some point I want to just shake Chance. I'm like, really? Does it take
Uh,
all of this? But yes, it took all of this because he was telling his story. She was telling her story. So I had to listen. So I don't feel boxed in. It's only when you get them to try to do something that they don't want to do, that's when you feel boxed in or you have writer's block because you're trying to go in a different direction than what they want you to go.
Okay. So basically your and I think you may have said this before in the past. So basically your stories are character driven then.
My stories are character driven,
Yeah.
not plot driven. No, not at all.
Okay. Okay. We love that. So I'm gonna ask you this. So back a while ago, I did some interviewing with Sisters of the Traveling Books. That was my first, powwow out interviewing authors, and a number of them that had kind of came but behind you and Miss Bev, they, when we asked them like who was their inspiration and everything, and I want to say 9 out of 10 of those authors that I talked to always mentioned your name,
Oh,
Miss
that's
Bev's name, as being someone who they looked up to, whether or not you grabbed their hand and took them to the next step or whatever. So you guys are loved in the literary world. I mean, people do look up to you. So they look up to you, but who was your inspiration and whose um, career path did you want to follow when you were coming up?
remember when I was coming up, there was really no Black authors in romances that were out there being published the way we are being published now.
Hmm.
I read Elsie Washington, so I knew I wanted to basically write a romance novel. But the one that I wanted to pattern myself after was Nora Roberts. She
Okay.
wrote series books. She wrote a lot of them. And one thing she told us, she believed in romance. She said, people who said that people who say that they don't read romance, no matter what book you pick up, there's some type of relationship in that book. Even if it's not a romance book, typically there's a relationship. If you just want to read a mystery, they have a bad guy, he's going to have an affair with somebody. It's going to be some type of relationship, whether
Yeah.
it's a love relationship or not. And so she said, never be embarrassed to admit that you like romance. Who wouldn't like romance other than people who may lack it or don't understand fully what romance and love is all about? So Nora Roberts, because she wrote a lot of books, her
Yeah.
books were forever being published out there. And the same thing now with mine. My books, if you read number 10, I write it in such a way where you would want to go back and read the 9 before it. So what's happening, because my readers are doing that, they're always in production. They
Hmm.
have different, every time I look, my publisher putting a new cover on a book, or some cases they're changing the title of a book. And I say, if you do that, put on there that this is a reprinted book, so my readers don't pick it up. That Brenda Jackson got a new book out there, and then they buy it and see it's the
Yeah.
same book. But that's good for me because my books are always in production, even Tonight and Forever. Readers, because of spilling the tea, want to know how can they get Tonight and Forever, and now they want to get to know the Medeiros family.
Yeah.
That means that more print books for them to read. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I knew would happen. You would write a book, some as momentous as this, and
Mhm.
then people would be coming into this now because you've done quite a bit of leg work with this book too. And I think maybe back in the day when you were reading it, either I missed it or I didn't see you on the road as much as I've seen you in recent times with this book here. So obviously it's getting a lot of traction, and which is good. And so when people read this, yeah, it's going to be a heartfelt story for them, but it's going to make them want to go back and say, where did these people come from, and what is she talking about? What did they did? So I think it's great. And if they have to start with spilling the tea, like most of us started, with at the beginning of the Medeiros, if they have to start with spilling the tea, hey, it's not a bad start. Let me tell you, it's not a bad start. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. And again, the Medeiros is my family. Um, Now, with all of this newness, we know that you have a new website, which I'm going to put in there, her website in there. So you guys go in, and I think you had a contest. I think it's still open. The
Yes, it is.
first, you're going to pick 5 people for signing up for your newsletter, and
Right.
and 5 people will win a signed copy of Spilling the Tea. So let me get this website in here. Now it's just www.brendajackson, all one word,
Uh-huh.
.com.
.com.
So you guys go on out there and sign up now. It's a great time because you already know what she's going to be doing. Now, this website is for your normal stuff. Now, are you going to have a separate website, or are you going to have a link for the young adult off of this website?
There's a new website. It went up last week and we was working on it. So it's official today.
Okay.
LaurenMedeiros.com.
Okay.
www.laurenmedeiros.com. It's beautiful. I
Okay. I got to get that one.
take a
So,
peek at it. I think you're going to like it. And it's really young adult friendly.
okay. Now that's going to be Lauren Medeiros, all one word.com.
Right.
Okay. All right, guys. So you got 2 links. And I see quite a few of y'all adults out here talking about y'all on board with this this young adult stuff. Y'all better save some of them books for them babies now. But I'm right along with you all. So you got the new website. Now, what was your inspiration for starting? Well, I understand the Lauren Medeiros website, but what was your inspiration for starting another website, just updating your own?
It was time. I've had the other website for so long. And with the 150th book, I felt like, wow, I need to just break out with something different, a whole nother look to keep it fresh. So I was able to do that. And so I am so happy that I did, because now you could make it more user friendly.
Yeah.
Because people saying, "Oh, I get into your website and I had another website for the bookstore and another website for my movies." So I put it all
Oh,
in one place. I put it all in one place.
okay. Okay. And here we have another sister of the pen, author Pam Kelly. Welcome, 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 love. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate all of you all for taking the time out of your evening to come out and hang out with this, but I did not want you to miss this because, everybody knows what a wonderful writer, Brenda Jackson is, and Beverly Jenkins. I don't think she's out here, but just let me just also give a shout out to Beverly Jenkins,
Yeah.
because last year in 2024 marked her 30 years of writing. And I'm not really sure what number book she is on right now, but so she's also like um, uh, just before you in the 30-year mark. So,
Right.
guys, 30 years is in writing is, I don't know, that's just kind of amazing because yeah, we work on our jobs for 30 years, but writing, that's just great. That's just
Yeah.
great. So congratulations again. I know I've told you privately congratulations, but let me just say this publicly that congratulations to you. And I want to say from my heart, I am so very proud that you are one of us.
Thank
And
you.
we thank you for paving the way for not only authors, but just anybody in general that is trying to do something for themselves. I think you are um, a great path to follow. I mean, because you're doing some great things. Now, I also want to say something I've noticed about Miss Miss Brenda. Not only is she an extraordinary writer, but this woman is about her business too. I love that too, and I think a lot of people can garnish some really nuggets from you, especially in how you have come up in this literary world and how you have turned some of your challenges into wins. So yeah,
Yes. And
yeah.
that's the main thing. I've learned over the years is that if people don't want you at their table, create your own table.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. I made a movie. No one was buying our books or making them in the movie. And I was blessed to have a son that went to film school, a husband that didn't mind giving his son part of his 401k money, but with the understanding your mama going to get it back for me because she's a good businesswoman. So I'm really not going to lose anything, which I did. And
Mm-hmm.
the movie went to Netflix and now it's being shown on Roku. So, don't always wait for people to do things. Do it yourself. Have the mind, okay, they're not ready for me. I'm going to break out
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this anyway. I started my own production company in 2006 before people were even doing the Kindle or ebooks were even really out there because I foresaw that this is going to be big. And if my publisher don't want the book that I want to write, then I'm going to write it myself. I didn't start my publishing company to add other authors. It was just something I wanted to do because
Mm-hmm.
I just want to do for me to offer my readers a chance to get books that I wanted to tell that the publishers were not ready to be told. So those are the things. So create your own table. If no one wants to give you a seat at the table.
Okay, that's great advice. Great advice. So I know we're wrapping up on the time, but if you can indulge me in just a couple more questions, and then we're going to have you, tell us all where they can find you, what you got coming up next, where you're going to be at next, and all of that good stuff.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you, in your career of writing, is there a book, and if so, which one that was the most that had the most demand for your well, a personal sacrifice was the most demanding of your personal sacrifice. I didn't say that right, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What did you have to say?
Yeah, that book is Ties That Bind. And I tell people I don't think there's another Ties That Bind in me. It took me the longest to write because of the research. It took me 2 years of research. I went all the way back to 1965 and I wrote that book in the year 2004, 2005. But I was 12 years old during that time, but there were some things that always bothered me. I really didn't fully understand the Vietnam War. I lived through segregation and I thought the Black Panthers were heroes. So I couldn't understand what the, you know, big to do about why now they're criminals. So I did my own research. I did the research on the FBI agent J. Edgar Hoover, and I found out what's now coming out, what he was doing to weaponize the FBI against, minority groups. I learned that. I didn't go off to college because I got married at 19. So I needed to know what it felt to be on a college campus. And I picked Howard University and I interviewed students that went to Howard University. So I had to get that college feel in my head. It took me 2 years of doing that, interviewing Vietnam veterans, interviewing a real Black Panther, all of those things to write Ties That Bind. And it's a saga, goes from 1965 up to the present time. That book, I cried through that book. I cried because it was so many parts of that book that made me cry. And my husband would say, "Why are you writing a book that's making you cry?" To get to that happy ending, because I knew eventually I was going to have a happy ending. I just had to make my characters fight for that happy ending, struggle for it. So that book was a challenge to me, and it took me 3 years to write.
Well, it was worth it.
Thank you.
It was worth it because that was a, like you said, it was even a challenge, a little bit of a challenge to read too.
Yeah.
Because you learn about stuff that if you didn't know, you can easily just sweep it up under the rug. But once you know, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I just one last question is I wanted to ask you about, so for most of your writing career, you have been fortunate enough, I guess, to be traditionally published.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere down the line, you became a hybrid.
Right.
Can you tell us just a little briefly about those particulars, like traditionally published and being independently published? What is the journey like? I mean, do you do more for yourself on one end and less on the other end? How does that work?
It started out, I wanted traditional because I was a traditional girl, and I was lucky to get into traditional publishing. So I only started doing books that the publisher didn't want. I wanted to write about full-figured women, not the, sleek cocoa bottle size woman. And they say, "No, we don't want that. We want the man's fantasy girl." I'm like, yeah, well, she could still be his fantasy girl weighing a 16 or 18. I couldn't understand that. So that's when I start writing stories what I call my full-figured voluptuous women.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had women would write me, say, "I'm in my 80s. I love your book, but I don't want to read about 30-year-old guys because I feel like I'm reading about my grandson, and I don't want to know what he's out there. Could you write a book about a mature man in his 60s?" That's not happening. You're not going to sell that book to Harlequin back in the day. So what I did, I wrote books for older people. So those books were just what the publisher would not allow me to have. Then I had my own publishing company that I did it. Now, whatever I write, I go either way because I could write either way. And I'm exclusive right now to Harlequin, but I still write what my readers want.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think you have I you're like one of the ones because I know and I've sit alongside of you because Harlequin was just one of those where we were repeatedly readers were repeatedly going to conferences and saying we don't like these covers because it doesn't depict the story. But then when we picked up your books, we look it's like okay, what's different from her than anybody else because we do you fight more? Do they give you more? How that works. And I think from those type of things is how we have so many hybrids in indie authors today
Yeah,
because they write their own voice.
right. You have to fight, but you have to earn the right to fight.
Yeah.
And it's a business. I came from corporate America, and what helped me be able to speak out and demand certain things were my sales. My readers were buying my books. I was making New York Times, USA Today. So if I didn't like the cover, I would tell them, I'm a good marketer. That's not going to work. You need
Yeah.
to go back and change this. They look at my books because of the sexiness. They want to see scenes. They want to see guys. If you're not going to have the guy that resembled the guy I'm writing about, I'd rather for you not to put the guy in the book,
Uh,
on the cover of the book. Because the reader's going to say, that is not the guy she wrote about. So then we went through that period of time where they put sexy scenes on the cover. So again, you have the right to speak up for yourself, but you have to earn that right with the publisher because all they know is dollar signs. And as long as you bring in the dollar signs, then they will listen to you.
okay. Well, you have definitely proven that, and we're so much better for it. Really, really enjoyed you. I just wanted to just do this one little thing. It's almost like my thing of saying happy birthday to you. 150 book, 30 years of writing,
Oh,
and I just cannot wait to see what you do next.
oh,
So,
thank you. Thank you.
so with that being said, give us a little bit about what you have coming up. We know you have the young adult, but what else is coming up with that?
If I could stay on schedule, at the end of the year, I will be up to 155. Can you believe
Okay.
it? I'll go from 150 to 155. I have my young adult book that's coming out next month. And then I have a book called Sexual Healing. Um,
Oh,
yes,
hmm.
book is basically I gave the readers a 5-page story just because they wanted to know what happened to that girl that we read about in Night Heat, and
Mm,
so who was having issues and all of that. So I decided to bring that book back and add more to it. So now it's a book. It's going to be an ebook, and it's coming out in June. It's going to be an audio book. It's coming out in ebook and audio book. And then the long-awaited Masters of the Game. We're still trying to decide on a release date for that. I want it to come out in August, late August. I'm trying to work with my formatter and my audio person to see because now I want my books to come out audio in all the formats the same day instead of you having
okay.
to wait 6 months to a year to get the audio book. So I'm waiting to see how that's going to work. And then in November, I've never done a Thanksgiving book. So I wanted to do a Thanksgiving book using the Montgomerys. That's the player, no more
Uh,
player, the player handbook, no more player. At long last, those Montgomery boys, get back together again. And then for Christmas, a steel, Christmas with the steel. So yeah,
oh, wow.
forward to writing those stories. And all of those books are independent books. I'm making up for the time I couldn't write them because I had to hold that slot for the 150th book. But I do have a new, Desires is no longer out there. So I'm writing special edition for Harlequin. It's
Okay.
a Westmoreland book. And if those that remember Dylan and Westmoreland Way, Pam's best friend Iris, um, if you remember her, and then if you want to even go back further to remember what's Irresistible Forces and
Oh,
his best friend Matthew. Yep. So I'm getting them together. So now it's more. I done gave y'all the Outlaws before I go to the Westmoreland, the next generation with AJ Westmoreland, which is the oldest in that generation. I want to tie up some people that I always wanted to get together. So it'll be this book, and if you like Second Chance a Charm, with Charm's book and her husband, fiance, the drummer and his band, Ives, I want to write his story. So those two books will be coming out as special edition books, one in 26, one in 26, and one in 27.
oh, wow. I was going to say earlier today that you make this look effortless, but I'm so excited about the books that's coming out, but that's just a lot. Like, kudos to you. I don't, I'm always amazed at any author that writes any book that put themselves out there like that. But listening to you right there, you a whole cake and then some. So, Miss Brenda, again, thank you so much. I'm super proud of you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everything that you got coming up next. I'm here for it. If any of you all are out there, you haven't read Spilling the Tea, I promise you, from a book buddy herself, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And even if you have not, caught up and you can't remember what was going on with the Medeiros before, don't feel like you're going to let that stop you. Pick this book up, read it, and then go back and figure out what you missed. But this book right here is a super story. I mean, I said it's got maybe like a couple of, like you got a 2 for, but it's really a 3 for in this story. And it is really good. Some sad parts, some funny parts, some good parts in there. But it is an amazing book. Grab it. And Miss Brenda, I'm gonna need me a hard copy of this book.
Okay.
Just saying. Just saying.
It book's coming in hard copy. You
Okay,
be
so
Spilling the Tea when I get it, because it's supposed to be in hard copy.
yeah,
And I'll find out what's going on with that. But yeah, it's supposed to have come out in hard copy.
I'm holding off on getting my hard copy. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. But until then, be kind to yourself and to others. We'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.